Hello, fifth grade family. Happy Thursday to you. I hope that you are feeling good, that you're being active, and that you're staying energetic. Keep up your great work, all right, guys? Today we have a fun lesson. We are going to continue with our reading and get more of our questions answered, and we're also going to get to have some fun doing our vocab today. I just want to touch base and remind you guys that you do have work that is due every day for ELA East. We will be losing points if it is turned in late, so try your best to turn it in on time. And there's more than just a do now, so you need to make sure you're watching the whole video and doing all the different parts of the lesson. Check your Jupiter every single day, even if you're not feeling like you want to know what your grades are. Every morning we're checking to see who has been on Jupiter, and unfortunately there's always 3 or 4 fifth graders who are not, so please pick up your game on that. To my friends who are already doing it, please keep up the good work. Today is Thursday. Let's look at what we're going to do today. So you see behind my picture here, your Google Classroom page. I'm just going to remind you how to get to your work. You're going to click classwork, and then you're going to find the lesson for today's date. Today is 4/9. I want you to remember, guys, you should only be doing one day of work at a time. So on Monday, if you went through and did Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, all of the work, you didn't watch the video, and the video is where I'm doing a lot of the teaching. So please make sure that you do it one a day, schedule your day out, and just have 60 minutes reserved for ELA work, okay? So first thing you're gonna do when you open your doc today is your do now. Today's do now question says, write 4 or more sentences answering this question. What do you wanna be when you grow up? Why? What do you think your day will be like with that job? Go ahead and pause this video, type your 4 or more complete sentences into this box here, and then press play when you are finished. All right, you should be finished up that do now if you have pressed play on me again. So now it's time for your vocab. Today, I'm going to ask you to set a timer, and I'm going to ask you to do 15 minutes on Quizlet studying Unit 11. We are going to have our quiz on these Unit 11 words on Tuesday. Please remember there will not be class tomorrow on Friday or on Monday, and then Tuesday we'll have a quiz. So if you're bored this weekend or on your 2 days off, you could go on Quizlet. I was really impressed with Mulani's high score last quiz, and who else did a really good job? Kendall got a really high score. Samaj, I want to see where you're at. Let's see your Quizlet points. And maybe I'll even try to get on there and beat some of you guys on Quizlet. So right now, press pause, set a timer for 15 minutes, and go ahead and do your Quizlet. All right, guys, time for us to read our 10 pages for today of As Brave as You. We are on chapter 10. We are on page 182. Yesterday, you should have done all of the comprehension questions for chapter 9. Remember, I'm looking to see you do all of them. So doing 1 or doing 2 isn't going to have you learn as much as you need to be learning. You need to do all those questions. Page 182. Apparently, North Hill had a town to it. Who knew? That was where Grandma told Ernie and Jeannie that they were going right after they both finished picking peas and scooping poop. You know, the usual. Destination? The flea market. Jeannie felt a flush of excitement to be going somewhere, anywhere, other than church or Tess's. Before they left, Jeannie and Ernie washed their hands and changed their shirts, Grandma's rules, and Jeannie took the red truck from the dresser and slid it gingerly into his pocket. What do you guys think gingerly means based on how it's used in that sentence? He slid the red truck gingerly into his pocket. Yes, Mulani, what do you think? Right, so because we know that the red truck is valuable and that Jeannie is still feeling a lot of guilt about how he broke it, we can tell that gingerly probably means the same thing as gently or delicately. What are you taking that for? Ernie asked. Because maybe somebody might be selling model car parts at the market. Might need to match it up. Man, Grandma's selling peas, so it's probably just going to be people selling food. Ain't nobody gonna be selling no toy parts. It's a model, Jeannie corrected Ernie. And so what if people sell food there? You got them sunglasses from the bodega at the end of our block, and they sell food too. Plus, Tess sells her earrings, and can't nobody eat earrings, Ern. Jeannie had proven his point. Downstairs, as Ernie ran ahead towards the front door, Jeannie told him he would be right there. But he had one more quick thing to do. Feed the birds. He pushed the inside-outside room door open. Grandpop had started leaving it unlocked because Jeannie could tell, yes, that he trusted him. And he knew that Jeannie was hell-bent on making sure everything, the birds and the plants, were being taken care of properly in there. Grandpop wasn't there, which was fine because Jeannie didn't need him to be there to do what he came to do. He reached under the small table and grabbed the can that held the dead flies. They still grossed Jeannie out, but every day he got more used to it by shaking the flies into his hand with one eye closed and pretending that they were seeds. Seeds with wings. The can had gotten low, but Jeannie figured he could divvy out the flies fairly, 4 or 5 apiece, and each of the Jackson 5 would get enough. But he calculated wrong. By the time he got to the last swallow, Michael, Jeannie was down to 1 fly. Michael was the smallest of all the birds, and he didn't need a lot to eat, but he had to have more than just 1 fly. Plus, that fly was all mushed. No way was Jeannie touching that. First, he considered the plants. They were everywhere, but he wasn't actually sure that birds ate plants. Grandpop said that they ate Grandma's crops, but eating peas and eating Grandpop's weird inside-out plants might have been 2 entirely different meals. Jeannie had never seen the birds in Brooklyn pecking at plants, but that was probably because he never really saw plants in Brooklyn. Then he thought, maybe he could give Michael Jackson bread. He always saw people back home feeding pigeons bread in the park, but pigeons might have stronger stomachs than these country birds. The Jackson 5 might not be used to city stale rolls. They might only eat farm-raised, organic. Couldn't get much more organic than flies. He looked in the can at the last fly left. It looked just like, and that was when it hit him. Duh. Seeds, as in apple seeds. Jeannie slid the empty coffee can back under the table, and he grabbed the cup that Grandpop used to spit his apple seeds in. His seed cup. Seeds, flies, same size, same thing. Jeannie decided as he tapped a few seeds out into the cup of his palm. He put the cup back and then dropped the seeds one at a time into Michael Jackson's cage. Michael seemed immediately interested and hopped from his perch to the cage bottom, and Jeannie left the room relieved. No birds would go hungry on his watch. Sorry, I had to feed the birds, Jeannie said as he climbed into the car, the engine already running. Grandma behind the wheel, ready to go. He wiggled the truck out of his pocket and tucked it into the porch behind Grandma's seat so she couldn't see it and so it wouldn't get further damaged by Jeannie being squished up in the back seat with exactly 627 pea pods in a basket, a bunch of school lunch-sized bags, and a scale. Ernie rode shotgun. Had to feed them stinky birds. Got it. Now, buckle up. Grandma turned the knob on the radio. That's right. Grandma's car radio was controlled by a knob. Not a button, a knob. But even though her card was old, it wasn't old and ugly like Crab's car at least. The radio went from news to jazz to rap. When she landed on rhythm and bass of hip-hop, Jeannie livened up and started nodding his head. Then Grandma changed the radio station again. Does anybody else's family member do that? Mr. Todd always changes the song right when I get into it. Here we go, she said, setting the radio on a church music station. She pulled the visor down to block the sun, and she slowly turned the wheel to head down to the bottom of the hill. When they got to the bottom, she turned the music up loud. Neither Ernie nor Jeannie minded listening to loud music, but when it was loud church music and your grandmother was singing at the top of her lungs like she was actually in church, it got kind of strange. Ernie just kept looking out the window, trying not to laugh, and Jeannie tried to come up with a question to ask to get Grandma to turn the music down. Grandma, he said, finding one, pushing the pea basket, pressing onto his hip over a little. She didn't respond. Grandma, he repeated, but she was in the middle of singing to Jesus. She kept putting her right hand in the air and waving it in front of her face like she was fanning away a stinky burp. Grandma, Jeannie shouted. She finally turned the radio down and looked at him through the rearview mirror. Yes, baby? Can I ask you something? You just did. Oh. Huh. Well, can I ask you something else? Boy, ask me. She looked back at the road. Does anybody at the flea market actually sell fleas? Ernie groaned. What? Jeannie moaned. Stupid question, man, Ernie scoffed. No, it's not, Grandma replied, taking her eyes off the road again, this time to glare at Ernie. Then she refocused straight ahead. No, baby, they don't sell fleas. At least, I don't think they do. I ain't never seen no flea sellers there. But if you spot any, make sure you let me know. I'll pick up a few as a gift for my old buddy Crab. Then she doubled back. Oh, wait, I better not. Ernie might have a mad girlfriend on his hands, and we don't want that now, do we? She looked at Jeannie through the mirror again and winked. Ernie just shook his head, crushing his smile between his cheeks. The flea market was one bizarre, amazing place. It was like a circus and a carnival mixed together, except with no animals and no rides, though you could definitely buy light-up swords and cotton candy. You could also buy tires and doorknobs and pretty much anything else. Jeannie hadn't known what to expect. He'd never been to a flea market before, and they both figured it would be a bunch of geezers like Grandma, talking trash, singing church songs, and selling a bunch of fruit and vegetables that they'd grown in their yards and forced their grandkids to get up at 6 in the morning to pick so that they would be fresh off the vine. And there were some people there like that, but a lot of people were just selling stuff, like anything, which gave Jeannie hope that he might be able to find a replacement wheel for a red truck. It wasn't impossible, since there were people selling things like old black and white photos of random people, rusty screws, paintings and drawings. Some were cool, and some were lame. This one lady just had a table full of white socks. That was it. She just sold white socks, which seemed crazy, but once Jeannie thought about all the times that he heard Ma going off about how filthy their socks got and how they always had holes in them, White Sock Lady seemed more like a genius. She probably would have been Ma's new best friend if Ma lived here. Just set the basket right there, Grandma said after she covered her table with a blue bedsheet. Put the scale and the bags next to it. When somebody comes, they'll scoop as many as they want into a bag. Ernie, you'll take the bag and weigh it. She pushed down on the scale. The red arrow moved from 0 to 1 and then snapped back to 0. Jeannie, you holler out the number that the red hand lands on, and I'll tell him how much they owe. Got it? Got it, Jeannie said. Ernie just nodded, playing cool as usual, a thin layer of dust building up on his sunglasses. Now stand back and let me show you how to call, Grandma said, moving to the front of the table. Then, taking a deep breath, letting the air swell in her chest, she belted out, Sweet pea, sweet pea, sweet pea, as if Sweet Pea was somebody far away that she was hollering at. Also, as if peas were actually sweet, which Jeannie knew was not their case. Talk about embarrassing. Sweet, Grandma sang out again as people started looking over to the table and smiling. Jeannie was thinking he could maybe hide under the blue sheet and that he could tell that Ernie probably wanted to do the same. He was just thinking about how lucky he was that at least no one knew him in North Hill, or his life would have been ruined when Grandma nudged him. Help me out here, son. No one will be able to resist that cute little face of yours. Go on, yell it, just like I did. Really? Really? Jeannie shot Ernie a, help me out here, bro. Look, but Ernie took off his sunglasses and pretended he was cleaning them. Like that was more important than bailing his brother out. Grandma nudged Jeannie again, this time with less patience. So Jeannie cupped his hands around his mouth, and he just got it over with. "Sweet pea," he yelled, and then Grandma shrieked, "Sweet pea," herself, and then Jeannie did it again, but this time louder and longer. Ernie just stood there in mid-clean, shocked. Then Grandma nudged him too and cracked a joke about him being too cool. Then she went back to her call, this time adding a rhyme. "Not in the store, not on the street, you never seen a pea this sweet." Then again, "Sweet." The next shocker was the crowd. Why would anybody rush to a table to buy peas? But that silly call totally worked. So many people, so many peas, bagging and weighing pound after pound, dollar after dollar, for what Jeannie considered to be the nastiest food on the planet. Amazing. After everybody bought up the most of the pods and the crowd died down, Grandma taped a sign to the front of the table that said, "Sorry, people, we're sold out." Then she paid Jeannie and Ernie $10 apiece. Triple shocker. They'd been working for her, sure, but they hadn't thought that she was going to actually pay them for it. They figured it was more just grandson labor. "Now, let's go have a look around," Grandma suggested. "Might be something here that y'all want." Jeannie ran his hand over the lump in his pocket. He knew exactly what he was looking for, and now he even had the money to pay for it. What is it again that Jeannie is looking for at the flea market? Yes, Talea, what is it? It's right, a replacement wheel for the model car that he broke. Vintage model car kits, or even model cars already put together that he could take apart. Anything that had a wheel that he could use to replace the one on Uncle Wood's truck. There had to be someone at the flea market selling them. At least Jeannie hoped there was. But he couldn't tell Grandma. Well, he could have, but he didn't even want to get her mind going. Dust kicked up around them as they wandered up and down the rows of tables, each one selling something different. One man sold 3D glasses. He was wearing a pair. It was weird. Another guy was selling old magazines. There were a bunch of people around his table holding up faded covers of Martin Luther King Jr. or the Beatles. There was a lady selling board games. Jeannie saw Jeopardy and got excited first, before figuring Jeopardy was best played on TV, with Alex Trebek. No Alex Trebek, no fun. And then there was a woman selling video game controllers. She had them organized in crates by what system they were for, some going back to really, really old games. It was like stumbling upon a bunch of broken pieces to the spaceship. A few tables down from the video game lady, there was also a little kid selling shoestrings. Just shoestrings. And for some reason, this was the table Grandma stopped at. "So, young man," Grandma said to the boy. He stood with his hands behind his back, real proper, like he was some type of big businessman. He even had on a shirt and a tie. "I am sure my grandsons here are dying to know. Do these laces come with sneakers, or are those sold separately?" That's where we'll pause for today. We'll continue reading this next week on Tuesday together. Remember that you'll also have a vocabulary quiz on Tuesday. Please check your Jupiter every day, and please keep ahead on your work. You guys are doing an excellent job being focused, hardworking, and adaptable during these challenging and different times. I appreciate you, I love you, and I hope you have an amazing Easter. And I want to say happy birthday to any of my friends out there who have birthdays this upcoming week. I know there are a lot of us. Bye, y'all. See you soon.